Am I done with this part? Unfortunately not yet. I still have to clean these sliders. So that's where the new pads will be sliding, right? So do you see the difference? I need to prepare the surface. But I will recommend you something. Because the rust buildup, there can be buildup underneath this part. So I will actually recommend you to remove this whole part, clean it, right? Because here could be a rust, and that rust is lifting this sliding part, right? And then the brake pads cannot float and move freely. So because of that, what I do, I separately clean this part and then install back this hardware. Sometimes when you buy brake pads, this hardware even comes brand new in this kit. I'm reusing it, there's nothing wrong with it, it's all good. And this side is ready. Now I have to do the same right here. And you can see a lot of dust coming out of it, right? And that's most likely a lot of it is brake dust. Brake dust, it's very dangerous to the human health. So I will always recommend you wear protective glasses, but most importantly, wear the respirator so you don't breathe in all this bad stuff. That should be enough, right? And look at that. I will have this part ready to install the new pads. But first I have to have that rotor ready. And as you can hear, it's still being done on the brake lathe. But look at this, how beautiful, shiny, and ready for install. To prevent rust buildup in this area, right, and future problems of removal either wheel or the brake rotor, I will use very tiny amount on that surface of anti-seize. Right, so that's a little touch. Everybody should find a little bit of time, but it slows you down. 30 seconds or each side, but it makes life easier in the future, right? And working on the cars is a breeze instead of hitting the tire with the big sledgehammer. And that's enough, just a little bit. Here I have already perfectly resurfaced brake rotor, right? It looks brand new to me. I love it. So I will put it back and the install can begin, right? So now I need those larger bolts, those 17 millimeters, and I'll be heading behind right here. Some of you might already have the brake pads installed, but there's so much wiggling here. I'd rather put them on later, as I will show you. So these two 17 millimeter bolts are hand tight. Now I need to torque them really tight, right? There's definitely, I don't know exact spec on that torque, but I will say this needs to be tight. You don't want that bolt falling off. I believe on my very first car I bought in USA, that's exactly what happened. It wasn't tight enough, and then the front brakes were scraping and grinding. And at the time I had no tools, I was not working on it yet, so mechanic found one of the bolts fell out. So this is perfectly installed and I can continue with the brake pads. And look how these new brake pads are thick, nice and beefy, right? So I'm ready to install them. What I will do with the same grease, I will lubricate these sliding areas very little, right? Again, you don't want to have the grease on the rotor, right? So this is very little, and it supports that floating function of the brake pad, right? So this is correct orientation. I can put it in, right? And they nicely slide inside, and I have outer brake pad in the place. I will do exactly the same on the other side from back. So I just come from the other side, have it pre-lubricated, and look, they nicely clicked into place. Do you see the detail? Maybe like this, is it better? Yep, you can nicely see it. We have the new pads in the place. And I will continue with installing that caliper, right? So I remove it from that hanger. I have it in my hand, and now I need to place it over those pads. I did everything okay, so it's perfectly there. I'm checking the bottom, everything's fine, so I can take those 14mm bolts, right, and put them, install it on those sliding pins. Sometimes it takes a second to catch the thread, but it happened already. Pay attention to the detail. Make sure that the hardware, sometimes there is like a little groove here, so make sure it's nicely, correctly falling in, right? So don't rush it. The same I will do on the bottom. And again, when everything is perfectly lined up, I need to install these 14mm bolts, and again, they need to be nice and tight. You don't want to risk them falling off, right, while the vehicle is being used. That will be possibly catastrophic problem. Everything perfectly in the place. I'm ready basically to install the wheel, right? I lubricated this area. Well, yeah, anti-seize lubricant. I personally put also a very little tiny amount of the same anti-seize on the threads, but just a little bit, right? Some people will tell you don't do it because it will change the torque when you are torquing those lug nuts, right? I don't care if it changes tiny bit. I'm torquing everything 110 Newton meters, right? But I rather make sure that the lug nut will be not stuck on the stud, and when I will be removing that tire in the future or somebody else, it will not break the stud. Replacing this stud, it's not easy, right? It takes time, so I try to avoid that from happening. And basically, I'm putting this back. And being the fact the car is still on the lift, I will use my torque stick right here, right, to torque those lug nuts. First I want to have it seated, right, carefully. And now I can go crisscross, right? Still careful. Now I can go crisscross, and the torque stick is limiting the torque on the lug nuts, so I don't want to over-tight it. After the vehicle will be on the ground, I will torque everything to final torque 110 Newton meters with a big torque wrench. And now I'm going to do exactly the same on the other side, and I will catch you after that. Now I have the vehicle on the ground, I can finally use the precise torque wrench, right? I will do the same on the other side, right? And only after that I'm putting back this plastic cap. Now comes really important part of this repair. You have to hop in the car and pump the brake pedal. It's really important. You don't want to start up, put in the gear, and then find out that the brake pedal will go all the way to the floor and the car is not braking and you are already in reverse or something, right? So really important. I will carefully get those brakes seated, right? Oh yeah, so as you saw, it was like a 4 pushes, then the pedal became finally firm. Imagine you've been already in the gear, backing or going straight, and the brakes are suddenly not working and you are in panic and you will hit something or someone. So that's really important, right? And after that, when I seated the brakes, right, everything is good. Then I'm checking the level, right, of the brake fluid. You can see here nicely, right, it says max, and the brake fluid level, it's perfect. So now I can go on the test drive and make sure that I brake in those new pads on these resurface rotors, right? Ideally, you are driving somewhere on the empty road and you go only 30 and gradually, slowly brake to the stop, then you start again 30 and you repeat it like 5 times, and that helps to brake in those brand new brake shoes. I hope you found this interesting and helpful, maybe encouraging to do your own. Please make sure you are subscribed. I have way more videos coming your way soon. Thanks for watching. Have a great day, my friend.